takes a team, man. Like making movies and stuff, it takes a team. You can't do it yourself. If you want to travel fast, go alone. If you want to travel far, go together.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so true. Like just trust your people, give them the opportunity to do what they want to do. I love to hear people's opinions. Even if it's like a gaffer, I'm like, what would you do? Before I tell them what I would do. I'm just curious what they would do.
Yeah.
Because then it inspires me to be like, oh, dang, I'd never thought of that.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Brian, welcome to the Story Arc podcast, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You moved from, was it Atlanta?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were a DP there, and I'm sure we're going to jump into your story a little bit more.
Okay.
But you moved from there to Denver, made some new connections, and now you're just, you're at a steady flow of having these new relationships, connections on set, doing some cool work. So that's pretty cool. And we have your dogs as well.
Dude.
This is
yes,
awesome.
Thank you for that.
Introduce them. So we have maybe off camera. I don't know. Maybe you can see from this camera.
Yeah,
This
she's
is
a little short, huh? We have Penny over here. Then we have Howie, the big white dog who's deaf.
Yeah.
And he likes to sit in chairs, so that might happen. Oh, so does Penny, I guess.
Yeah.
Penny, come on. Penny.
Here, you want to
down.
Can you
Like,
sit
I
down?
like the
There you
leather
go.
chair.
Just don't step on the recorder.
I know
because
that.
then you may stop the recording and we'll have
Right.
to do it again.
Oh, gosh.
But
yes.
I love it. Bringing your family members here to the podcast. This is great.
They're like my service animals, I feel,
Yeah, absolutely. So,
I serve them.
so tell me, Brian, how you got started in the industry.
Uh-huh.
What attracted you to filmmaking in general, and how did you get more refined into the position of being a DP?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man. So it's been a journey. I've honestly been kind of doing film and just recording and have that interest my entire life.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, at the age of probably honestly 8 on, I would just make movies with my friends, just anything, and with my guinea pig, with my hamster, with my dogs, whatever. And then eventually went to college and thought I was going to go to college for a music technology program. And immediately was like, this is so hard. I can't do this. And then I started noticing all these telecommunications people that were in audio, but also this video side. And I was a boom operator for a short film, and I was so bad at it. I think everything was clipping or just way under. It was horrible audio levels. And then I remember watching the DP, and I was just fascinated with what he did, his direction. He was just a cool guy overall. Yeah. And since then, I was just I want to do that now.
Yeah.
So just pivoted.
Yeah.
And so that's the beginning path. Went to Ball State University in Indiana.
Okay.
For telecommunications, video production, which is the closest thing they had for video, for cinematography.
Gotcha.
Right?
Closest you could get. Wasn't
right.
like a USC film school.
It was not.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it wasn't that, man.
Yeah.
It had some cameras, had some lights, so got to get creative on the weekends with friends and some projects. But eventually, right after graduation, I was really serious about it, and I moved straight to New Orleans, Louisiana. And that's where I kind of learned 90% of, how to actually work in the industry as a professional. And it was amazing. At the time in New Orleans, 2012, insane movies, big Hollywood, big budget movies were coming in town.
Yeah.
So, and everyone was busy. So it was very easy to get on a huge movie set as a set PA or something.
Right.
Which I did. So I was a set PA, and then I eventually got yelled at enough and wasn't good at that I was I need to go into what I want to do, and started talking to the set electricians and then camera. And I knew I wanted to be a DP, but I was just curious of my path, is that the camera side or is that the lighting side? Ended up getting sucked into the lighting side.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be camera side, and then for some reason, lighting people were just welcome me in.
Yeah,
and I was let's go.
great.
You're busy. Let's work tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I just did that, and I was in it as a union electrician for set electrician for 5 years maybe in New Orleans. So that was awesome. Got to learn.
Were
from
they filming True Detective at that time? With Matthew McConaughey and
Yep, I worked on it a little bit.
Sweet.
I was a grip on that just for day playing, day played. I wasn't full time.
That's awesome.
But I was there on a few days and got to see some cool scenes go down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I bet being on the electric side of things is helps you in the technical aspect of being a DP, maybe more than just being a cam op or like working in the camera department. Like, I don't know if you could speak to that at all. Like, do you feel like it helps improve being on that side of things, understanding the lighting aspect?
So my viewpoint, and I guess I'm kind of biased because that's the direction
Yeah.
I went, is 100% agree. I think
Yeah.
lighting is so important, if not almost more important than like the camera side,
Yeah.
being a DP, because a lot of times you can kind of trust your first AC to make sure the settings are correct in the camera department. But for lighting, it's like a whole new imagination. Like everyone lights differently.
Yeah.
And everyone uses different lighting. And it was just, there's so much depth to lighting
Mm-hmm.
and different ways to do it that it's just
Yeah.
a lot to learn.
Right.
So it was fun to be in the electric department and see how different DPs light on different shows and different gaffers communicate with different DPs. And then the camera side, though, it's more techie, you know? So you're more just like sticking to what the DP wants, you know?
Yeah.
Just like do this, do this, do this. And it kind of becomes routine. Not saying it's hard or easier, but just the path I took.
Yeah. So then after New Orleans, how did you get to Atlanta? And tell me about that sort of
Right.
career path there.
Totally. So actually, there was a city between. I went
Okay.
to a lot of cities. After New Orleans, 5 years, went to New York to just be that DP, you know, just kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like clean slate. No one knew who I was. In New Orleans, I kind of felt capped. I was like, okay, I started Best Boy Electric, Gaffed, DP'd Indie Project, and I felt stuck. Like I couldn't go forward. All the DPs were coming from New York and LA, you know, or like Europe.
Yeah.
So I went to New York and started building that portfolio as a DP, but also gaffed, also operated. I did everything.
Yeah.
That city is so eclectic and diverse with opportunity. It's pretty wild. 2 years there, couldn't take the city life because it was just tough. It just takes a toll.
Yeah, it does.
And
it's
but
a different
man, it was
world.
great.
It's like its own world there. Its own
Absolutely.
country and everything. Yeah.
Right. And
Where
it's
did
so
you live in
weird.
the city?
Oh man, Brooklyn. So I was in Bed-Stuy and Bushwick.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Cap Hill for a little. Capitol. Yeah, no, Clinton Hill. A
Okay.
little bit.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't do that many movies there. It's funny. I did a lot of like
TV stuff?
TV
or-
stuff, stuff for Complex Media. I
Yeah.
filmed a little bit of Hot Ones.
Okay.
Sneaker Shopping, if you know those shows.
Yeah.
Just weird stuff. Music videos, short films. It was a good place to learn quickly with
Yeah.
fun new toys and new directors. And
How long were you there for?
only 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are some hot spots. Like you're really, you know, dipping your toe in the water in New Orleans. You know,
Right.
you're really growing that skill set, like that base, and
Yeah.
then New York. But then you go to Atlanta after that.
Correct.
What motivated you? You just like, I'm done with the city here, like the New York City, and you wanted. Was it a better opportunity at that time? Atlanta was like really taking off in the film world, or
Yes,
Yes.
and I was just looking to get out, and I was like,
Okay.
where can I go?
yeah,
And I called my friends who lived in New Orleans, but they moved to Atlanta. I was like the one guy that was like, I'm going to go to New York first, see what that's about, because I want to be a DP.
yeah,
They went to Atlanta. So I called them, was like, how is it? And they're like, we're so busy.
that's sweet.
and
What
they're-
year was that?
Oh, gosh, this is a great question, man.
If we do our
If I did 2012 to like 6 years in New Orleans and then 2 years in New York, what would that be, you think?
like 1920,
2019?
yeah,
Yeah. So went to Atlanta, and this is the kind of a new path that I stumbled upon through some friends.
Okay.
Behind the scenes cinematography,
yeah,
which is kind of a weird field that is hard to get into, actually, because there's not many of them, us, I guess, or EPK, which stands for Electronic Press Kit. So, you know, when
That's
you-
the official title.
yeah, for
Yeah.
EPK.
So EPK is a behind the scenes DP.
So EPK
Is
is
that
electronic press kit, which usually means like getting all the content into a kit so then
Okay.
you can sell
Yeah.
the movie later through
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it usually means interview days. So when they say EPK days, that's an interview day or
Yeah.
social content day. BTS, behind the scenes,
Yeah.
filming the actual making of the movie. So yeah, same kind
So
of
it's
task.
a very rare niche sort of position,
Right.
but you're on some pretty cool sets,
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Mhm.
and meet some really interesting people. Yeah, tell me about that experience.
Yeah, and it's a great way to observe, right? So
Yeah.
like if you want to learn like literally firsthand without being like a gaffer and only learning the lighting side or just being a first AC and only learning the camera side, BTS is kind of that weird place where you can get very close to camera operators, DPs, because they want you to. They want that close shot, right?
Yeah.
And then you just observe all day long without hopefully getting yelled at or someone's being in your eye line or you being in their eye line.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot of observing and a lot of different movie sets I get to observe and learn and see lighting setups and
Yeah.
film. And it was cool, man. It's a really weird, fun job.
Yeah, it seems really interesting. I always love behind the scenes. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that is like the biggest way I've learned personally is watching other people do something. I mean, the biggest way is by actually doing it, right? Getting out there and getting the experience. But
Sure.
but like watching how the pros do it, like the best of the best are right there in front of your eyes, just doing it and from every angle. And I think the biggest thing that people can't always gauge is when you're not recording the behind the scenes, but you're seeing that like interpersonal like relationship, like people getting along on set. Like that's a huge thing that you can't get when you just watch the reel of a behind the scenes. You know, you usually are getting a more polished, you know, talking head interview of Joaquin Phoenix talking about, you know, the Joker and like, no, I really want to see him acting, you know? So usually it's a little more polished, but you're getting that because you're there, right?
Sure.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
What
Very
about
cool.
moving on then to Denver? Like what sort of motivated you to make that step?
Right, man. Yeah, I have moved around a lot, huh? Starting to hit me. So real quick, just to kind of back up in Atlanta, I did also join the union when I was in Atlanta.
Okay.
So that opened up some doors for sure. So then I started camera operating a little bit on union shows. I was like a B cam op, C cam op, whatever. So that was cool because you're actually filming the movie or the show. But then eventually Atlanta kind of took a toll on me too. And my partner, and we just kind of got sick of the city and got a little dangerous, got very overpopulated, oversaturated. And then COVID happened. So that was a tough time for everyone. But then the strike happened. And I think that's what really kind of killed the scene in Atlanta just for that year. It was really bad. It was like dead.
Yeah.
And during that time, we were just thinking like, what should we be doing? She also worked in the film industry as a costumer.
Okay.
So everything was dead union wise. So we just got to thinking, and I think we had three options. It was like Austin, Texas, North Carolina, or Denver. And we just checked out Denver, and I flew here by myself one time and just hit up a bunch of production companies and random directors and was like, hey, how is the industry? Because I had no idea.
Yeah.
But we just love Colorado, and we love the mountains and nature, and we want that like healthier work-life balance, you know?
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting that in Atlanta. I was working a lot. And it just became a kind of a toxic mentality and a way of life. And so we came here, and it was great. I mean, Denver's awesome. Beautiful place. The people are awesome. Everyone's so nice. I feel so safe here.
Yeah.
But the film industry is very different. I'm not going to say it's like worse or better, but it's just so different.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you can share a couple of those things. Like what I feel like I have a couple ideas of what it is different. But obviously there's going to be people listening that live everywhere. So it's not a matter of like, here's the advertisement or the anti-advertisement of why you should or should not come to Denver. But I think it's just good for people to know that there are differences,
right?
That you just don't go to like, you know, like Toronto's a big film hub too, New York City, LA, but they all have their own vibe. Atlanta's huge. Charlotte is big, even, you know, New Mexico, like all these different places. But I'm curious, like from your taste, you've been to a few different hot spots.
Yeah.
Like what are some of those descriptives, adjectives that kind of stand out to you as being different?
Oh, and we're talking strictly about just Denver right now?
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
Oh, man. So what it is, I think, so the industry's way smaller, right?
Yeah.
It's a way smaller industry. But the people here are so kind, and they're so willing to learn and be open. So that's been really cool. We don't have as many fun toys like techno cranes or crazy shit. There's only like a few Steadicam ops in town, and like only like a few dolly grips in town. It's pretty wild. But it's just a kind atmosphere, which is really great when you're kind of at the level I am as a cinematographer, where you can start shooting those big commercials that are in town with the local directors, hopefully local directors.
Right,
so it's kind of like that feeling of like a bigger fish in a small pond, but in a weird way, I'm just like a new fish in a small pond. I don't want to say like I'm a big fish.
Yeah, and that's very humble of you to say that. So that's very nice of you. With the sort of kindness that you see,
Mhm.
what would be the antithesis of that
Hmm.
that you've seen in other parts of the industry that it's kind of like, you've developed a bit of like a resentment towards, like, man, that
Oh man.
attitude, that mindset needs to go, and I'm sick of that, or whatever. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Oh gosh, there's so much. uh, I'm trying to stay as optimistic as possible, but I've seen some things, and I mean, people know. Like, there was, the union went on strike for a while, and then of course the actors went on strike for a while
Yeah.
because just underpaid and just working such crazy
Yeah.
hours. Like, I would work like 16 hours. When I was an electrician, I would work like 15, 16 hours every day, and that was normal. And I
Yeah.
was like, cool, I'm young, I don't care. This is
Yeah.
what the film industry is.
Right.
We'd work overnights all the time. I did a movie that was a month straight of nights. So I just slept during the day. It was so weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can be a very toxic place, industry, especially the big stuff I've noticed. The big movies, the big union stuff, they just take a long time to, they really take a toll on you. And you're supposed to be protected by a lot of like unions, and stuff. But something always falls through the cracks where someone gets hurt or someone drives home and
Yeah.
falls asleep at the wheel. So that's one thing that I don't know why they can't just reduce the hours. Like,
Yeah.
just make it a 10-hour day. Like, I'm sick of these like 12 and then 14s and then 15s and
Yeah.
pre-calls that are 3 hours earlier than the rest of the department. So then they have 3 hours more time than, like, costumes. They have 3-hour pre-calls sometimes.
Yeah.
So when they wrap, it's like 3 hours longer than everyone else on set.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff. And
It's
then
hard to make like art a business, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Obviously,
Sure.
or scaling it, right? Because like, from my perspective, not from your testimony, but from my perspective of just like looking at the landscape of the industry, it's like,
Yeah.
it's tough because I'm like, I've got this passion to like make a film and make it awesome, and like, hey, we're gonna go the extra mile and make it happen. But if it's your job where you're like, the cliche of like clocking in and clocking out, like, you don't get that freedom to say, all right, I know this is your passion project, but this is my job. And
Right.
I need, some sort of humane aspect to coming to work and then leaving work. There needs to be a separation, because basically all the projects that I've been doing have been like passion projects.
Yeah.
And I do have my business, and I really do try to separate that. It's like, it kind of is like that 9 to 5. I'm trying to, okay, I have my clients, I have a separation. But then when it comes to like the passion project,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, let's go the extra mile. But you have to be careful with that, of course,
do.
like inviting other people to do something for free or just for their portfolio, and just, hey, a group of friends just doing that, and just being, I think, mindful, reading the room, being conscious of like what the expectations are, saying that up front. I think those are all good things. But what is your take with like a passion project?
Yeah.
Is there room for a little flexibility in the hours? And like, what's the best way of navigating those conversations?
Great question, because obviously when I started, I did a lot of passion projects, because
Yeah.
you have to. If you want to build a portfolio, you got to just start shooting anything, right? And I think it's just really good communication. And the biggest thing for me is feeding people. Just feed them okay, like, well, at least.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
don't just always get pizza every single time, on like a hot summer day in New Orleans, and just be like, here's pizza. It's like, no one wants that,
Yeah.
So I think just if it's like a freebie, just be very clear and transparent. Like, this is what this is. This is a project I'm doing. I really believe in it. I would love to, let's say they're like a camera PA on union movies, but this is an opportunity for them to practice camera, like first day scene,
Yeah.
like focus pulling. It's a big jump, right? So this is where you can play. You can be in those positions that are higher than what you're normally doing on like a bigger movie. So it's for everyone to learn, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. I think a lot of directors and writers think, oh, this is the one, we're going straight to the Oscars,
Yeah,
or
right.
like Sundance, and maybe, but
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
I think it's
having
it's
a good,
just-
healthy balance of your expectations
Yeah.
with how, because I was just talking to another guy, I think it was AJ, just yesterday. He was on the podcast.
Oh, no way,
And,
AJ.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we were talking about how hard it is to make a film.
Okay.
From different aspects, like everyone has their technical skill, and it's your job as the DP. But when it comes to like the vision aspect of it, and again, I'm not taking away from how hard it is to do what you do, but to pull off like an end-to-end full thing, like, okay, here's the ideation, the script, and if you're sort of like an auteur director, like you're trying to sort of do a little bit of everything, which isn't always smart. It's good to invite collaborators, but it's really hard to, like, the acting has to come into play, the locations, hopefully the weather's good, the budget, everything's got to come together. And for it to like come out like decent, where you're like, hey, that was kind of entertaining, is like it's really hard to do. And so I think it's good to have a healthy understanding that if you're a director like myself, like what you're endeavoring to do isn't always like the success rate of being on the red carpet, and the success rate of being on the red carpet and getting an Oscar, or going to Sundance is a lot smaller.
Okay.
So like reassessing your values, or reassessing your definition of what success would be, I think is a good, healthy relationship of where am I going to be in 10 years from now if I go down this path.
Sure.
Not to like undermine people's talent, not at all, but more so to say of like, take a good, healthy piece of the humble pie, and just recognize like, hey, this project may not be the golden ticket for you, and then like, don't give up though.
Right.
But don't put all your eggs in the basket. Like, don't put all your relationships on the line. Don't, ask, thinking that it's like that freebie, and then never expecting, like, you got to be careful with your ass. Like, even if it's friends and family that are maybe donating to the film and they're going to spend some of their own hard-earned money, like, just get some more practice under your belt, I think is important. But
absolutely.
I don't know if you have any thoughts with that.
Oh, man. I mean, I think it's important to practice as much as you can, without using too much of other people's times, unless they want to also practice in their position, like their department or their title. Then it's fine, just being transparent, feeding people well. That's really it. And then, just know, I think this is a big one. Know when enough is enough. Like, take 47. Like, what are we doing wrong, director? Like, tell us what needs to change. Yeah. Because I've just seen like people just keep going for no reason. It's like, we just need more options. Like, no, man. Like, back in film days, which I'm not gonna like act like some old guy that, used to shoot film, but I have shot film, and it's very, very intentional. Yeah. And militaristic, and what you're doing, and you don't take a bunch of time. And I've been on movie sets like American Horror Story and True Detective, all shot on film, and dude, you don't waste time, and you just know when enough is enough. Yeah.
What would be a good example of that? Because I want to dig a little deeper in that concept, because I feel like I could struggle with that. Okay. More so on the side of like, hey, we're here. We've got everyone's here, so we better get it. But I've also heard of stories of like, hey, let's move on. Like Clint Eastwood, it's like one take guy. Yeah. You've heard of that. Even Christopher Nolan, as much as it seems like he's a perfectionist, he's like, all right, couple takes, we're moving on. Yeah. He's not like too precious with everything. Sure. But there's like, I feel like when I'm doing my passion projects, sometimes there is too much at stake. Like I've got, I'm sacrificing time. Everyone's doing this for free. Let's make sure we get it, because I don't want to watch it at a festival or something and be like, if we just had like one more take or something like that. But that may be my mindset. But I'm curious like how that plays out more so from your perspective in reality. Like, what are some things like, what we should stay away from this? Like, there's times where, we need to do another take. And then there's times where we need to move on. Do you find it just in the lack of clarity with preparation, or are there some like practical things that come to mind for you with that?
So when I think it is important to do another take is for sure when like the focus is off, or like there's a camera bump or something that's not smooth with like the actual image, like, that's obviously a mistake. Like, let's not, sorry actors, got to do it again. We're not going to tell you why. But when everything's perfect, but it's just like something with the talent and the director, and everyone's trying, I've been there where you're like monitoring, you're looking at the director, like, what does he want differently out of this poor actor on take 15? Like, what are we for like 4 minutes per take? You're just like, what is it, dude? Just say something. I don't know.
Say something different, try something else. I
don't know. I don't know what it is because I'm not really a
Yeah.
director. I have directed, but
Yeah.
I get bored. So I'm like, hey, 3 takes, let's do it. If we got it, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Even if I'm pissed at the edit, I'm like, shit, I fucked up this.
Yeah.
I needed more angles or more coverage. I don't know. I just can't waste too much time on set.
Yeah.
Because then you fall behind. Oops. You fall behind, and then the next scene usually sacrifices a little bit because
Yeah.
then everyone's a little like on edge and like burnt
And it's
out
a
from the
domino
last
effect.
take. Yeah. So you just want to respect time.
Yeah.
Rehearsals are fantastic.
Yeah.
This is a big thing actually that I struggle with in Denver. Actually, is like rehearsing. Like there's like a structure and etiquette to, you know, like the actors come on set, we do a blocking rehearsal, and everyone puts their marks down, and then the DP and cam op to watch
Yep.
while the director and actors talk, and they rehearse. Then they go to hair and makeup and get that figured out while we're lighting. This is like something I don't see often, which I just want to try to start doing this in the nicest way possible on set.
So they just
helps.
jump right to let's start.
Usually
with
there's no rehearsal at all. They just come in on set with hair and makeup already done and expect to start going.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? We didn't rehearse, and then they're kind of also like waiting on lighting then at times. It's just weird. And then
like a bit of a
focus pullers don't
bottleneck.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But
it does make sense. I recognize, like, as a director, you're thinking about the performance too, and you're thinking about the camera, and you're thinking about a lot of things. And it's not like this hierarchy, like there's like the director's any better, but they do have a big position, right?
Totally,
they're the captain of the team, right?
Yeah.
The captain of the ship. And I think there have been times where I'll be like I'll have a take, you know, with the actor, and there's something more that I want. And there's part of it, it's like you got to sharpen your communication skills, but you also have to like know how to get to the act. Like, this is what I'm trying to convey. And if you roll on a take, everything's set, you roll on a take, and it's maybe kind of complicated for the cam op or whatever it is, and they nailed it. They got the focus.
Okay.
But as a director, you're like thinking, yeah, but I didn't get the performance.
right.
There's the frustration, right? Is you're like, I did my job, and I can't necessarily guarantee it the next time, but we're going to do our best. But, you know, there's all these factors like coming together, right? So it's not even just proposing. It's like, this is the industry standard, is having more rehearsal. So like if I had that actor, like we did more table reads and more rehearsal, more, you know, stuff like that, where we don't just show up, you know, like, okay, now we're expecting everything all to align at this moment. Is like, we need to work out those kinks in rehearsal that then we're live, basically, almost like like a theater performance.
Right.
Like, we've done all this stuff in practice.
Yeah.
Now the live theater is like, you know, to use the analogy, it's the curtain pulling, it's the lights up there, it's the faders, you know, which is you guys, the cam ops, you know, it's the boom operator. Like, they're ready to go. They're getting those kinks out more in the live production too, you know? I think that's like an important part that kind of irons that kink out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the magic of it too, right? Is just bringing all these different creative human beings together doing their own professional thing and hoping it all works at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That is so challenging. That's why it's an art. That's why it's so beautiful when it's done well.
Yeah.
And you will have problems, but that's why you have takes, right? You just keep going.
Yeah.
But
only so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And trying to find that sweet spot of knowing
Yeah.
where to like kind of give up on something and move on,
Sure.
you know, versus like, did we get it and all of that. I've heard, it's just, you just got to read, you know, the relationship too with the director and the DP and knowing your time, knowing your budget, all of that comes into factor. I think having a great measure of grace, you know, and just being, just kind in those moments, I'm sure really helps get the project, you know, to the finish line.
Right.
Moving over to like a little bit more of the creative approach.
Yeah.
Where do you draw inspiration from personally?
Oh yeah. That's a good one. I was thinking about that one actually. It's interesting. So I would kind of say inspiration for me grows. When I was younger, it would be off of music. Like I would be listening to music and I would have ideas going through my brains of like almost like music video ideas or stories or visuals because of a certain song or like the way it made me feel. If it was like a moody song, I was like, dang, I want a sad little script that I want to write now, which I would do.
Yeah.
And then I would create the story around that sound and then come up with the visuals and then shoot the movie. That's kind of how I used to do stuff.
Okay.
So these days I will actually, if I'm doing like a narrative project and a director has like a vision, I'll be like, hey, if you have like a playlist or like music that you listen to while you're writing this or that you really feel the vibe, send it
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Because then I can get in your head a lot more with music
Yeah.
than just you describing it to me or giving me like images from Roger Deakins, you know? So,
From Shot Dick, you know.
right. So like, so yeah, music is a huge thing.
Yeah, it does.
Inspires a lot.
Yeah, it plays off the feeling, the motion. I love like looking at images and then like in tandem, like listening to
Absolutely.
music.
Nice.
I know AI is a big like, you know, scare for people, and it's a big controversial thing right now in the art world. But not to dive too deep into that, but more of the side of being able to visualize things before the day of shooting to really get on the same page instead of like traditional storyboarding. You're able to do so many things now with the tools we have with Midjourney to create some visuals that you're like, man, it's just not like there's not really a film out there that's describing what I want, but you can create an entire pitch deck or shot deck of different images and convey that really well before you get to the day of the shoot. Do you have any any special tools that you like using to get on the same page with the director?
Oh man. So another thing I was going to add to the inspiration, which kind of adds to this note, is photography.
Yeah.
And like traveling the world. And like a lot of times I'll get ideas while traveling and bringing my little still camera and just shooting images, and finding those frames is most important. So yeah, I love mood boards, like just creating all my favorite like photos or screen grabs. Sometimes photographers have better, for me, images and imagery and lighting that's more naturalistic, that I like to then replicate with cinematography. It's weird. There's such cool photography out there that I'm trying to like mimic it with video now. So yeah, I like to bring that to the table, music to the table. Break down scripts, but it's been a while since I've done narrative, honestly.
Yeah.
Commercials is a whole different thing. It's like just 30 seconds and one day.
Very tight. Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else, man.
Are there some favorite DPs of yours as of late? Like more, it could be older ones too that inspire you, but some, I guess, mentors from afar, you know, that are like, man, I really love their work and I aspire to sort of follow their method or their philosophy of approach.
Absolutely, man. So I'm gonna just say a few that I like. I used to really like their style. I still do, actually. Like Emmanuel Levetsky, of course, has some cool naturalistic style going on. I really like Anthony Domentel. He did like 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Shot it on like a PD-150, a mini DV camera, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He shot a lot of other amazing stuff too. And then, you know what's interesting? I was just listening to a podcast today about a cinematographer named Steve Gaynor, he's done like Bully. It's like an old movie, but he's also in charge of like the history of the old film cameras at ASC in California. But I actually worked for him years ago as a camera intern.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid nothing. I was literally free on a movie, and he was the DP, and I was just helping camera department. It's crazy. And then 4 or 5 years pass, and I'm in New York, and I'm gaffing. I learned a lot more since then, and I'm a gaffer, and I'm gaffing for Steve Gaynor, the same guy.
Yeah.
And then I listened to his podcast today. I'm like, this guy's awesome. So he's a good-hearted dude. He's solid. He hasn't done like a bunch of big known movies, but he's so talented, and he's so nice, and he's so kind.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I see that, that's more important than if they've done the biggest movies that everyone knows.
Right.
It's just these kind humans that are funny on set.
Yeah.
You know, they have character. That's cool. That's the biggest thing to me.
Yeah.
These days. Yeah.
What do you feel like you try to bring to the set of you're ready to go, you've had several pre-production meetings, you know what you're gonna do, but like your mentality, your aura, like what are you bringing on that day? Like you know what is that mindset for you?
Right. Calmness, which then brings clarity, which brings focus. I think it starts with being calm. Just like try your best. Sometimes I don't even drink coffee on those days
Yeah.
because it just brings up anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
Just stay calm, and because when you can be calm and then you start delegating to the correct people to do their professions, then you can think ahead and
Yeah.
and really stay on track. So I think just being I don't like the sets that are just chaos mode. They're just so stressful. And yeah, so I just like to make sure we can, because it's such a fun thing if you think about it. We're making movies. We're
So
like
cool.
filming narratives, created stories for even commercials.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's such a fun thing. So I don't want people to take it so seriously.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know, and yell at anyone because it's like I've seen it. And
Right.
It's just,
I think
just
in
sucks.
general, humans just take themselves too seriously.
Right.
With a lot of, like we all
Right.
need like a healthy dose of just kind of chilling out a little bit.
Sure.
And I think that's really good. What about your relationship with the director?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
Oh yeah. How do I like
Yeah,
the relationship?
and more of like what direction do you want from him when it comes to lighting? Like, well, that's not his job. That's why he hired, me, and we've got a gaffer. We're ready to go.
Right.
But do you like to just get it more up front? Like all the mood board is really dialed in. But like, let's use more of a practical example. You're on, you're shooting scene 23 and then you're cutting over to scene 18 and maybe it's in the same house, different room. You're setting up for that. What's the discussion with you and the director at that time? And how does that play out for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we've already discussed it a day before or a week before, honestly. I don't think we should be having deep discussions about anything new day of, really.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a happy accident where we're like, ooh, that's a fun, let's just do this real quick. And we have the time. But hopefully it's discussed a week ago or as soon as possible, when we get the script, they need to call. He or she needs to call me. We need to talk about it, sit down, and really have a game plan and a shot list. I'm so open to a director doing the shot list or me and the director collaborating. I love collaborating with shot lists. Or I'm fine doing, because in a way the DP is still in service to the director. And I actually love direction. I don't like it when they're like, just do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I would be a director if I would do whatever, I don't want that. I love having a little bit of boundaries.
Yeah.
And then I can just focus on my craft. But I do like it when they give me a little bit of free range to lighting. It's a little annoying when they're like, well, wouldn't you want the key over there? Or maybe that, this light, or maybe that. It does get a little annoying. It's like, well, I mean, that's just kind of my job.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. But if it's like every day, every scene, everything, it's like, well, it's no longer my
your job,
my imagery,
Yeah.
So yeah, just I think a healthy.
So there has to be a trust then.
Absolutely.
I think that's important. Like
Right.
if it was like your first day on set as a DP, and maybe a director is a director DP.
Yeah.
He's probably going to take a little bit more action, right? And there's a lot of guys like that now, or like younger guys my age, kind of that have grown up with the camera, like they are doing it themselves, and then being able to like give that over. But it would have to be trust. It would have to be like, well, Brian knows what he's doing. Like, not even just knows what he's doing. Like, I trust that we've discussed this, and he sees the vision, and he's going to make it work. And maybe there's like room for a small discussion of like, so like, what was your thought with putting the key over there? Like,
right.
And you could like, well, this is what we want to do. And I've heard a couple times recently with a couple directors that are in tune with their DP, like best of friends, or like, two peas in a pod kind of thing. And the DP will just be real frank with them. Like, well, do you want it to look like a television show?
Okay.
Like, and I kind of like that description.
Okay.
Because there can be like this strong imagery of a director, like, what if we shot it through this little keyhole and it would, and then they're coming up and then like, do you want it to look corny? It's like, no, like you need that like sort of friendship feedback that's honest and like say, and you could have other people as a director to tell you that, but I like that relationship with the DP is that they could say, no, that's not gonna look good,
Right.
Have you seen Conclave?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
but
they,
I know
they
about
just
it.
recently did like a a roundtable discussion with the
Oh,
director,
cool.
and I can't remember his name and the DP, but they were pretty close on it. And there was
Okay.
a time where the director said, "Hey, I think we got it," with that take. And the DP said, "Well, is that an image that we want to live forever?" And obviously the stakes are higher for that, maybe higher in a different degree, but they knew it was going to take extra time. They knew it was going to take extra work, but they said, yeah, let's make something timeless. That was that agreement there. And I like having those agreements
That is cool.
beforehand, because not every time, like what does that mean though? Like, okay,
Right.
are we going to be here for the next, 3 hours trying to get a timeless shot? Well, you got to button it up, buddy.
Sure.
We only have so much time, but what does that mean? And I think that's where it takes like a relationship over a long period of time to sort of figure that out. Or sometimes it just clicks.
Right.
But I think the essence of what I'm trying to point out is like that it has to be a trust thing.
Yeah.
It can't be like tiptoeing around each other. I don't like that.
And just being open.
Yeah.
Just open. Just only, like, I usually only say no, like, oh, this is going to be, I always explain why something might be difficult. If a director's like, hey, what if we did this and this instead? And if I'm really like, it's not a good idea, I'll explain exactly why. And it's usually because of time. It's usually like, well, we'd have to redo everything here, everything there. This should have been a discussion we had yesterday, and this is why we're wasting time, and then it's going to sacrifice the day. That's the only reason,
Yeah.
because I'm not that picky these days. I'm really not.
Yeah.
If it's like maybe like an indie feature that's like I'm DPing and I'm really into the story, I might be like really put like my heart. This is mine. I'm really trying to make it like my baby. But yeah, just being open and courteous.
That's good.
Um,
I love that. I think it takes a certain amount of time to get to that point where you're at.
Yeah.
Like you have to be confident of yourself, but not in a cocky way. You're just like, hey, I've done some cool stuff, and so whatever you want, man, I'll just make it work. I've got a set of skills, I can do it, and just being sort of objective with who you are, but also being humble, kind, courteous. I love all those attributes. I think that's so good.
And it takes a team, man. Like making movies and stuff, it takes a team. You can't do it yourself. And what is that awesome quote? I just heard it the other day. It's like, if you want to travel fast in life, or if you want to travel fast, go alone. If you want to travel far, go together.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so true. Like, just trust your people. Give them the opportunity to do what they want to do. I love to hear people's opinions. Even if it's like a gaffer, I'm like, what would you do? Before I tell them what I would do. I'm just curious what they would do.
Yeah.
Because then it inspires me to be like, oh, dang, I'd never thought of that.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Right.
And directors always give me good notes. Like AJ, I just worked with AJ a lot this year, actually. Went to like Canada and Austin, Texas. And he's funny. He's great. And he has great ideas.
Great energy.
And he knows the story way more than I would, right? Or like what needs to be shot. So he knows this is what needs to happen, Brian.
Yeah.
Like he's not a doofus when it comes to that. He knows.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's like, to get a little more technical, the relationship from the director to the DP is like the DP to the gaffer. Would you say that, or?
Oh, okay. The director to the DP, DP to the gaffer.
Like sort of you're the gaffer's director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Well,
I guess so.
Director of photography, you got to shoot, so you are a director. So you got to.
Then you also have the DP as the first AC too. That's like, and the key grip. So it's kind of like we have like three heads.
Yeah, you have a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking more because we talked about light and how important that was.
Right.
Yeah, there are other people in the department, but
Uh-huh.
meaning like, what do you have like a unique approach and technique with, like you already mentioned, just being hearing other people's opinions, but like anything come to mind with working with your gaffer?
Yeah, I mean, since I came up through lighting, it's like my favorite. It's my favorite department.
Yeah.
It's can literally shine. Oh man, I love it when gaffers. We go to the scout if we get a scout. And I love it when they have like they like kind of start pre-lighting for me. They like write down a diagram.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it too, but there's some gaffers in town that, like Tyler Kashke, who just does it. He like brings an iPad and he starts doing it for you. It's awesome because then he has it all set in stone, and then we can go over it again later at the end of the scout day. So I really like it when they like pre-light and like do lighting diagrams and even talk about units we might be using.
And that's only been like as of like maybe last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like now it's more mainstream in the last maybe 3 years. Like wouldn't you say like having it more like on an iPad lighting
Yeah.
with Bluetooth lights and stuff. I know it sounds like
Sure.
archaic, like a Bluetooth light, but what I mean is just having that like lighting diagram is something new. So
Hmm.
it's really cool to bring that to the table. Like
It
that's a
is.
tool that technology is really helping, speed up the process to
Right.
create better images
Right.
ultimately.
It
Yeah.
shows you have a plan, you know. You want to get as close as you can to like a finished result.
Yeah.
Um, Almost like at prep, like
Yeah.
when you're preparing in your brain. And then I like to go like 90% of the way with lighting, and then when I'm on the day, when I'm actually on set, then that 10%'s just creativity.
Yeah.
In the moment,
That's
creativity,
good.
happy accidents.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't want to go too like 100% in the lighting diagram, and then they're like, oh, you said this was 100%. It's
Yeah.
like it's 90, you know.
Yeah.
It's 90.
When
Yeah.
I saw some of your latest work with I think the production house Illuminati.
Yeah, yeah.
And tell me about that project. What was it,
Sure.
and what were some of the challenges you faced?
Oh man, that was great. That was my first time working with Illuminati.
Okay. What was the
And
campaign name or the commercial or the client?
yeah, AI identified. It
Okay.
was the client, and yeah, some AI company.
Yeah, but it looked so
Um,
amazing, like a
it was great.
progressive Geico commercial, something like it just looked cool.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So Evan Mann was the director of that.
Okay.
He's part of Otherworldly Productions. He's not with Illuminati, but he's freelancing as a director up
Yeah.
for them. And he has a he's a very creative guy, very
Yeah.
creative brain. And this was like a fast edit project where it went from like freezing cold space to then all of a sudden like a warm, glowing orange tone space, and it was just real quick cuts, and it just felt like an Evan Man vibe.
Yeah.
So I think that's how they hit him up, I guess, and were
Yeah.
like, hey, this is perfect for you. And then he gave me the opportunity, which was awesome. It was a fun project. We had a lot of good crew. I got like
The best of the
my
best, yeah.
choice,
Yeah,
man.
your
Like
choice, okay.
which is awesome. Brenna was the producer, and it was fantastic to work with her finally for the first time. But man, challenges, time. It's always time.
Yeah.
It's always just like you always run into some time constraint. And I don't really know, like, there's no one to really blame. Sometimes it just happens. I feel like recently it's always like either like a set dressing or like a hair and makeup thing, or it's like the thing that we just talked about where it's like they should come rehearse, then they go to hair and makeup, and then we light. It seems like we're not doing that. It's like it just goes straight into call time. We eat breakfast, we start lighting to no one, to no stand-ins, we don't know what we're like usually I'm used to stand-ins. Like there's no stand-ins, you have to find a PA. So those are just a little bit of complications, but that's just what you get with a little bit smaller markets.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge deal. But yeah, those are some of the complications. Just time, because our first shot was like the biggest shot of the day.
Yeah.
So we were shooting like real quick outside stuff while Tyler Kashkin, like the guys were lighting this big interior space. So we're gonna start with the wide, which takes the most amount of units, and then we get tighter and tighter. So then it's easier and quicker, right?
Yeah. Makes
But
sense.
it was just a big lighting setup, dolly moves, everything, zoom. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like on like the fourth floor, so elevators, all that stuff just adds time. So it's just time, on
Try
a
to just
commercial.
work against the time.
Yeah, but we were fine on time. We didn't go over at all. We stayed
Yeah.
under 10. So
Yeah.
it's always scary because it's the first thing up. So you're like, oh my God, we're already behind. It's like the first shot.
Yeah.
But we're
That's
fine.
when it gets kind of scary. You're
Yeah.
like, oh no, try to
Yeah.
catch up.
Right.
So in the last several years,
Mm-hmm.
there's been some technological developments. Even the industry has consolidated a lot. There's streaming services and platforms, as you're privy of, like with the strikes and all of that. What is your hope for the future of filmmaking, and where do you feel like it's going to head, and sort of making sure that you're ready to go for the future? Like where do you think it's headed?
That's a good question, man. I feel like it's definitely heading. I think producers are trying to get it to head. The people that are spending the money on it are trying to get it to head down like an AI, a cheaper way, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get the same results for way less money. I've noticed that even for behind the scenes shooters, we used to be on full time for like a show. We'd be like all 60 days of a show or something. Now we're just like 20 days out of 60 days, or like 15 days out of 60 days, or then it goes down to like 5 days out of a whole movie. And you're like, what? So they're just like cutting out a lot of the positions they think aren't necessary, I guess, anymore. But I still think they are. So I think it's heading down a cheaper route. even the big movies are just going cheaper. Everything's just going cheaper. And people, I think the issue is too, is people are still saying yes. They're getting kind of that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, fine, I'll just do it.
So it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, it seems like a race to the bottom because they're still doing it because they need the money, but they're doing it for way less than they used to.
Yeah.
So the producers are still getting what they're asking for, but they're also saving money. And it sucks because, like, that's what the strikes are about, right? We're fighting for more. So I think there needs to be a point at one point where the crew does, like, stop and be like, no, we deserve this, which is, I guess, the strike.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just a struggle because in Colorado, that's a lot of that. Yeah. It's like if one DP won't, if their rate's too high, they're just going to go with the other person that will do it, you know?
Yeah.
Or give them a camera package for free.
I mean, it's difficult on a broader scale. I've been studying that concept just in the whole free market of, you know, the country. Like it's just been doing the same thing. Everyone's consolidating. They're getting rid of, you know, employees that they don't really need. And, you know, in the name of thinking smarter, not harder. And, you know, for the Industrial Revolution and really that sort of bracket of history, that sort of has been the MO for a lot of industries, whether it's, you know, working at the car factory in Detroit, which doesn't exist really anymore, at least the energy of that industry with all the workers there, the factory workers, right, have been replaced. And, you know, if we were still sitting today and arguing about like, well, they deserve, you know, to work in the factory, it's kind of like, well, we've moved on. And so it's like, that is a struggle. It's like where the tension between like what things have been in the past versus moving on and trying to adapt and find like a new way to bring value to the set, but at the same time, not letting the big man walk all over you. Sure. And that is like a tricky game to play. You know, it's a difficult ethical thing to battle. Right. Because I see it from a perspective, if I'm a producer, you know, I'm going to try to like cut down costs as best as I can. Right. So, you know, I'm going to do the logic of that. However, if the you know, whoever's producing the film is still making the same money or more money. So that's kind of like the harder part is knowing, you know, when to like put down your foot versus like when to adapt. And I think if they're always, you know, if they're just packing their wallets with more and more cash, you know, from a streaming perspective, because that's what happened is like the industry changed, but they didn't adapt to a new model for the workers, for the laborers. And that became like an ethical, you know, injustice, right? Like say, we need to correct this. We need to update this. And now it's like, it's almost happening too fast for people to just keep up with. Yeah. Like Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, ChatGPT, all that stuff, is saying, you know, in the next 10 years, there's going to be the first one-man billion-dollar company. Like if that's, I don't know if it's 10 years, 5 years or whatever, but I see the sort of the beginning of that is like consolidation. Like, why do I need to hire this person, or just finding it cheaper? And I know we're a little bit off on a tangent, but but it's challenging though. And it's something to like think about. But I think for me, the application is just bring the value. Like if you can bring value to whatever you're doing, people are going to hire you. Right. And
also like learn to specialize in something. I've noticed, like, be unique, because if you're just like anyone else, it's just easy to just kind of like turn that into an AI thing now. But if you can specialize in something these days, I feel like it's very important. But yeah, it is a struggle, man, because that balance of like, when do you put your foot down and when do you just accept it? You know? Like, oh, I guess I don't get a prep day. I guess I don't get a scout day. I've just noticed, like, when you're going through like text or emails with producers and whatnot, it's easy to kind of like rustle feathers easier on accident by being like, hey, I think I need a prep day, I need a scout day, I need this. And like, oh, why do you need all these things? But if I just jump on a call, I'm like, hey, I just want to like hear my voice. I'm not here to be angry, but these are things that set me up for success. This is a big thing, because it's really easy for someone that doesn't do your job to think you don't need all these things, but they're setting you up for failure. And it's just tough to be a DP when you're given like nothing and they're like, do as much as you can. We want to make it look like this. And it's like such an expensive product. And then they're just like giving you nothing, you know? it's like, well, sorry, man, I can't. Emmanuel Lubezki can't make it look like that if you give him this, you know?
Right,
So it's
right.
just tough.
Do you feel like with the, like the solo filmmaker, the one man band, like that kind of hurts that process, part of the process, or people maybe get a misunderstanding of how you can produce something to, this level is like, well, this guy just did it with his camera and it cost, $2,000 and he's just been doing this for 12 months. Like anyone can do it kind of thing. And they're not seeing maybe the difference, or they're not appreciating the process of that. Like, do you have any takes with that?
I think eventually the kid with the camera that they're like, he did it, why can't you? It will eventually show that not every single time he will be successful at that high end quality. Like he might have been lucky that one time, like
it's
maybe
hard
the
to
lighting
show
was
that
perfect.
though, right?
Yeah, it's about consistency.
Yeah.
If you can show consistency as a DP, I think that's more important than showing like one amazing image and then the rest is just shit, showing that you can do it over and over again. Because there's a lot, like EPK and behind the scenes is a lot of one-man band. But in a weird way, if you think about it, like the movie's gaffer lit the whole set. So like I just do behind the scenes and just make sure the camera's exposed correctly.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of one-man band that is totally acceptable and it's totally fine. But I think it's the producers that it does get annoying when they're like, oh, but can you do this one-man band job but make it look like this commercial job,
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Just know your boundaries, know your limitations.
Are there any creative trends in the cinematography world that are in the mainstream cinematography world that you feel like, we could do without that?
Yes. Everyone's different. So I worked on some Marvel stuff, and I'm just not a fan of Marvel. I just can't do it. But when we're talking about the cinematography side of Marvel, even then, it's just people, I think, our audience members are so bored these days. They need constant action, movement, something happening. Like, they're not patient as much. Some of the indie people are, of course. Like AJ, he's a big indie filmmaker, so he's patient. He likes like the static shots. That's just all about story, and I love that. That's cool. But it seems like on these big movies you'll see a lot of like techno cranes and cameras constantly moving.
Yeah, all the time.
And it's like, why? What is the intention? Like, why is everything on a crane all the time?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, because we have it. It's like, yeah, but does that mean we should use it? Like, so just knowing your reasonings behind a camera move, I think is important.
Intentionality.
Yeah, because you're losing that these days. Spielberg did it so great. He was like such an intentional filmmaker, and he would like operate the camera sometimes too.
Yeah.
And I just love how it was so intentional with like the frames and the shots and the movement, and like where it would start on something and go up and then go to a Y. Like, it was so cool. But now it's just everything moves. So I'm kind of getting sick of camera movement being all the time. And sometimes it's just like contradicts each other. It's like going different directions, and it's just odd to me. And then one thing I've noticed too for like younger cinematography trends is underexposing. Just dark, so dark. But there's a way to make, I think, a scene look dark and be moody without making it completely dark. Like,
now, do you mean like like, have you seen it done on, like, we've all seen it done on Netflix where it's like, I cannot see the frame at all.
Right.
Like, what's going, do you mean that, or people trying to copy that and making it even worse? Or do you mean even like the mainstream, like
the mainstream
Netflix,
probably does
like,
it okay enough, but I have seen some on where I'm like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, it's like the whole scene is like that.
Like,
And
you have to watch
like,
it in complete darkness or you can't see anything.
It's kind of obnoxious. Yeah. And because when I use the word obnoxious, it's usually because someone's intending to do something that's adversely affecting what they intended to do to begin with. And it's like, you wanted to make a beautiful image. And what you're doing is just like not helping that.
Right.
But you're thinking it's part of being cool. Like, it's part of looking good. Like, the darker it is, the better.
Yeah, I meant to go dark.
And they further dark. I think there's like a video on YouTube that has like why films have gone darker over time. I don't know if I watched it fully, but I think the premise is trying to set apart from TV.
Okay.
Because it used to be the aspect ratio.
Okay.
And the TV's like might have changed that or something. I don't know. And then they're like, okay, we'll just make it darker then.
Yeah.
And more, not crushing the highlights, or not blowing out the highlights, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, that stuff is kind of like, yeah.
Well, there's creative ways to make a dark scene look dark without literally losing all exposure and like not even seeing the eyes or the focus or like, is that a face of the person?
I just watched 0 Day with Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And it's mainstream. It's a big budget Netflix series. But there was like a scene that at the end, I don't want to like spoil it or anything, but towards the end, one of the characters has just a flashlight and she's in her apartment. And another character is there. And it's not like a spooky scene at all or anything. Like there wasn't any suspense, which I think is really cool. But it was lit so well. Like you felt like you could see everything.
Okay.
Not everything, but like just enough of what you needed to know. But yet it didn't feel too isolated, but like it was still spotted with the flashlight. But yet there was still like a little bit of an ambience to it.
Nice.
And I felt like it served the scene well. Like it wasn't trying to be something. It was serving the story well.
Totally.
I wonder like your approach with that. And I think, to use our big name Roger Deakins, it's like the everyone, the cliche of who's great out there, right? But I've listened to a lot of his interviews and he's very much like, it's about the story. Like, don't get caught up in your framing and composition and lighting. That is more important than what you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Do you find a similar approach in your philosophy?
I do. So once again, it comes back to if I'm shooting narrative or like commercial. Because if it is narrative, all about the story. And that's the fun part. That is the most fun part being a cinematographer, is how to translate that to a story, to like writing on paper. That's what's so cool. But commercial world, it's a lot of times about like images. Like you're always like, okay, how's this perfect image? How's the set dressing? How's the lighting? It's because it's all 30 seconds. You only
have so much time.
Yeah. And the script's usually like, it's usually just a quick little thing. It's not like there's no big background story to like a commercial really. So yeah, but I do respect the heck out of that mindset.
Yeah.
It is about the story, and it's so fun when you can convey things through images and really tell a story in a mood that you're trying to emit, from just like a slight like dolly in or something,
Yeah.
But yeah.
You want to hear my hot take on cinematography? I guess I've already shared some
would love
stuff,
to.
like being too dark and all, but
Yep.
I think because of the accessibility, like people are just amazing at cinematography. Like it's taken off, like where it was, 15 years ago to where it is now. Like there's so many people that can make pretty images, but then it comes to the definition of like, well, what's pretty? Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And I feel like my take with it is like, if I'm watching a Netflix whatever, is sometimes you feel like they're trying too hard. Like they're doing it technically correct. Like, oh, there's a little moonlight there and there's a little rim light and there's like, it's soft lighting, or it's like, it's poised. Like every light is just, it's overlit, right?
Yeah.
And it feels too, it's like a candy apple, Lamborghini. It's like obviously stated, like you're trying to be cinematic. You're trying to be flashy versus something that is like serving the story. So my hot take is more like less is more. Is stop trying too hard. And again, it's not like a slap on the wrist to anyone, but the temptation to do too much is always there. The accessibility to the lights, like, hey, we could make this look this way. And I don't think the average audience member will notice as much. Like they're like, yeah, it looks fine.
They wouldn't know.
Over time they do, But I feel like, if the next project, short film, feature film, I want it to look great, but I don't need it to look like a Netflix film.
Right.
I want it to feel like it's almost like very real to life, but yet it's focused. It has like a certain tone to it that is so specific. Like what AJ's saying, like stop moving the camera. It's the same thing with lighting and all of that. Like I love those two approaches of like less is more.
Right.
Be minimal. Don't overdo it. And is it like being a little more realistic with it?
Yes. Yes.
But I also like impressionism too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you overdo it, then it's too much.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's so rare, at least from my experience recently, I'm always working on stuff where it needs to be polished. You know, it needs to be a little like extra lit. Like the key needs to be perfect, you know? So I'm like, dang, I want those movies, those opportunities. It's been a while since I got to do something gritty where it's like, how naturalistic can we get this where it doesn't look lit at all? It just looks right.
Yeah.
You know, it looks right for the story. So yeah, less is more. I mean, there's some DP said like, they said, okay, light your scene the way you would light it with like 5 lights and then start turning each light off until you can get away with just like 1 or 2 lights. Like try to just do the bare minimum if you can, you know? And then some DPs are like, well, it's just one big ass light and that's all you need. But who can afford like a 20K or 18K HMI?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I would love to do that. But
that
sometimes
is so good.
With all these LEDs, it's like they're not that much power.
Yeah.
So you kind of do need more lights. And then you get a little spoiled and you're like, well, we could just put a little hair light. We could put an eye light. I guess we'll do a fill. Then you have 3 lights already. And you're like, damn.
With all the stands and everything. It's
I
just
know.
like, oh, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot.
simplicity, I think, is key. If you can get as simple as possible. Because one thing I have learned too is it's not just about the lighting, right? It's about the actors and the talent. So sometimes you got to give them space to act and walk and if you have frames and C-stands and flags and lights all up in their stuff, it kind of takes them out of the element. Some people even light 360. So like it's just like a clear space, clear set so the actors can just play. Obviously the lighting won't be as perfect and focused.
Right.
But if you're looking for that grit look, that's fine, right? Yeah.
Well, Brian, it's been good, man.
Yeah.
I love all the insights and the tips.
Thank
and we'll have
you.
to have you on again to just
For sure.
Get an update in where you're at and stuff. And so I'll put a link in the description of your work and where people can follow you and see what you do. But I appreciate your insight and just coming on to the podcast.
Dude, thank you for having me, man. It was great.